Leather-clad outlaws, ruthless enforcers. The Sons of Silence are not just another biker gang, they are one of the deadliest in the world. With ties to the Hells Angels and a history of brutal violence, their reputation sends shivers down the spines of law enforcement. The world of motorcycle clubs carries a distinct image. One that immediately conjures up visions of rugged individuals clad in leather jackets, astride roaring machines, embodying a lifestyle that blends camaraderie, rebellion, and a strict code of loyalty. Yet, beyond the aesthetics and the gleaming bikes, these organizations have long been surrounded by a mystique, their members drawing as much fascination as the groups themselves. Over the years, these clubs have captured the imagination of the public, becoming subjects of scrutiny, admiration, and, in some cases, fear. Despite their undeniable presence in the American criminal landscape, outlaw motorcycle clubs have been romanticized and dissected in pop culture, appearing as both villains and anti-heroes in books, films, and television. Hunter S. Thompson's seminal work, Hells Angels, provided an insider's perspective into their volatile world, while the hit series Sons of Anarchy revived public curiosity, painting a dramatic, albeit fictional, portrait of life within these brotherhoods. Among these groups, the Sons of Silence, a Colorado-based club, might not boast the sheer numbers of some of their counterparts, but what they lack in size, they more than compensate for with their formidable reputation. They have firmly entrenched themselves in territories across Kansas, Arizona, and Colorado, building a feared presence in the outlaw biker scene. To ensure their strength in a world governed by alliances and rivalries, they have aligned themselves with the infamous Hells Angels, a strategic partnership that bolsters their standing against potential threats. One of the most recognizable aspects of the Sons of Silence is their 1% patch, a symbol that traces its origins to an alleged remark made by the American Motorcyclist Association, which suggested that 99% of motorcyclists were law-abiding, leaving the remaining 1% as outlaws. This badge of defiance is worn proudly by those who embrace the outlaw lifestyle. Alongside this insignia, members may also adorn their jackets with various other patches, each carrying its own meaning, whether to signify rank, loyalty, or the club's unyielding code. The patches worn by members of the club often feature striking symbols, including the Totenkopf, a skull and crossbones design that has been linked to historical military insignia. Some believe that the meanings behind these symbols are deliberately exaggerated or even fabricated, serving as an inside joke among members to mock outsiders who attempt to interpret them too seriously. At the same time, these emblems act as an open rejection of mainstream societal values, reinforcing the outlaw identity of the club and embracing a philosophy that thrives on provocation and defiance. The shock factor itself is a tool, an intentional way to challenge conventions and maintain an air of mystery and menace. The origins of the Sons of Silence trace back to 1966, when Bruce Richardson established the club in Colorado. However, it was under the leadership of Leonard Lloyd Reed, better known as JR, who took over as president a decade later, that the club gained real momentum. Reed remained in charge for 2 decades, overseeing a period of expansion that solidified the Sons of Silence as a dominant force in the biker underworld. By 1998, the club had outgrown its American roots and crossed the Atlantic, setting up its first European chapter in Munich, Germany. Their presence in the country has only grown stronger over time, and they have cultivated a dedicated following there, making them one of the most prominent outlaw motorcycle clubs operating outside of the United States. The visual identity of the Sons of Silence is deeply tied to American iconography, most notably through their signature patch. This emblem prominently features a fierce-looking American eagle perched atop the letter A, a design inspired by the logo of the Anheuser-Busch Brewery. Beyond this main insignia, club members have the option to wear additional patches, each representing different aspects of their membership. Some signify rank and status, while others serve as warnings to outsiders about the club's violent reputation. In the legal world, these patches are often scrutinized as potential evidence in criminal cases, though their symbolic weight sometimes outweighs their actual relevance in court proceedings. Despite not being as large as some of their rival clubs, the Sons of Silence maintain a powerful presence, particularly in the southwestern and Rocky Mountain regions of the United States. With at least 30 active chapters spread across the country and an additional 5 branches operating in Germany, their numbers remain relatively small but formidable. The club is estimated to have around 275 members, with the typical recruit being in their mid-30s. While outlaw biker culture has traditionally been dominated by a specific demographic, some of the Sons of Silence chapters have embraced diversity, with multiracial membership becoming more common in certain locations. Their selective nature ensures that despite their limited size, they remain a force to be reckoned with in the outlaw motorcycle world. Bruce G. Richardson, often referred to by his nickname The Dude, was born on August 22, 1939. As the visionary behind the Sons of Silence Motorcycle Club, he played a pivotal role in shaping its identity and establishing it as a force within the outlaw biker world. Holding the title of the club's first president, he guided the organization through its early years, ensuring that it built a reputation for loyalty, toughness, and a strict code of brotherhood. However, Richardson's legacy was not without controversy. In 1984, he became embroiled in a serious criminal case when he participated in the abduction of a doctor. The incident led to his conviction, and he was sentenced to 6 years behind bars. Despite this setback, his name remained legendary among members of the club. He eventually passed away in his sleep in 2013, leaving behind a legacy that continues to define the Sons of Silence. Leonard Lloyd Reed, born in 1947, was another towering figure in the club's history. Before becoming a biker, he served in the United States Navy during the Vietnam War, an experience that likely shaped his disciplined approach to leadership. Reed's journey with the Sons of Silence began in 1974, and by the late 1970s, he had risen through the ranks to become the national president. Under his leadership, the club expanded and became more structured, increasing its influence within the outlaw motorcycle community. In the 1990s, Reed took an unexpected but strategic step by working alongside Richard Lester, a California-based attorney with experience in defending motorcycle clubs. Together, they established the Colorado Confederation of Clubs, an organization designed to improve communication and coordination between various motorcycle clubs, aiming to present a unified front against law enforcement scrutiny and rival organizations. While the Sons of Silence have carved out their own niche in the outlaw biker world, they have not done so without making enemies. The club has long been engaged in territorial disputes, particularly against the Outlaws Motorcycle Club and other rival groups. Their close alliance with the Hells Angels has further intensified these conflicts, as it places them firmly on one side of the ongoing power struggles within the outlaw motorcycle scene. Despite their relatively small size compared to some of their rivals, they compensate with their access to weapons and their willingness to use them. One of the most infamous incidents in the club's history occurred in 1980 when a member of the Sons of Silence gunned down the national vice president of the Outlaws MC in Indianapolis. The attack, carried out using an AK-47, sent a clear and brutal message to their adversaries: this was not a club to be underestimated. Another notable figure in the club's history is Leonard Ray Shipley, who once held the title of president. In 1993, his leadership came to an abrupt and disastrous end when he was arrested on multiple drug-related charges. Authorities found him in possession of methamphetamine, as well as a Schedule II controlled substance, with clear intent to distribute. The raid on his home also uncovered a significant stash of firearms, further cementing law enforcement's view of the club as a criminal enterprise. As a result of his conviction, Shipley was sentenced to 24 years in prison, marking one of the most high-profile legal actions taken against a leading member of the Sons of Silence. Law enforcement has made numerous attempts to dismantle the club's operations, but one of the most significant crackdowns took place in 1999. In a large-scale, coordinated effort, SWAT teams raided 25 separate club-affiliated locations spread across Colorado Springs, Commerce City, and Fort Collins. The operation led to the arrests of 39 members and resulted in the seizure of a staggering arsenal. 48 weapons, including 4 hand grenades, were confiscated. Authorities also uncovered and seized 10 pounds of methamphetamine, $25,000 in cash, and even took control of 2 of the club's primary clubhouses. The scale of the raid was substantial, effectively crippling 3 major Sons of Silence chapters and dealing a serious blow to their ability to operate as freely as they had before. However, as history has shown with many outlaw motorcycle clubs, such setbacks are rarely permanent, and the Sons of Silence have continued to endure despite ongoing legal pressure and internal challenges. The Sons of Silence are not just another motorcycle club, they are recognized as one of the most formidable and dangerous outlaw organizations in the United States. Both the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the U.S. Department of Justice officially classify them as an outlaw motorcycle gang, placing them in the same league as the Hells Angels, Pagans, Outlaws, and Bandidos, groups that have long been associated with extreme violence, organized crime, and widespread illicit activities. Over the years, the Sons of Silence have been repeatedly linked to a variety of serious offenses, including homicides, extortion operations, large-scale drug distribution, and other criminal enterprises. Their reputation for ruthlessness and unwavering loyalty to their own makes them a particularly feared presence in the biker underworld. The club's violent history includes several high-profile incidents, one of the earliest being a barroom brawl in Colorado Springs in 1972 that left a lasting mark on their legacy. This infamous altercation involved at least 22 individuals and was reportedly the result of a power struggle between 3 rival motorcycle gangs vying for control over territory and influence. Among those involved, 6 members of the Sons of Silence were arrested and charged with assault, eventually receiving jail sentences. The brawl was not an isolated case of lawlessness, as members of the club have also been accused of far more disturbing crimes, including the abduction of children. These incidents only fueled the already menacing reputation of the organization, reinforcing their image as a criminal entity willing to go to extreme lengths to maintain power and dominance. Among the ranks of the Sons of Silence, few figures have been as notorious as Ronald Merrill Gruber, better known as Bad Ron. He gained a reputation as one of the most feared and violent members of the club, with a criminal record that spanned decades. His most serious conviction came in 1977 when he was sentenced to 25 years behind bars for charges of rape and assault. Even while incarcerated, his violent tendencies did not subside. During his time in prison, he became embroiled in multiple altercations, including assaults on 2 correctional officers who later sued him for his attacks. Gruber's criminal activities did not end there. In 1994, he was once again found guilty, this time on a federal racketeering charge, further cementing his status as one of the most dangerous individuals ever associated with the club. The Sons of Silence have also been involved in prolonged and deadly conflicts with rival outlaw clubs, with their most intense and sustained war being against the Outlaws MC. During the late 1970s, the Sons of Silence saw an opportunity to expand their presence in the Midwest, aggressively moving into territories previously dominated by other clubs. The escalation of tensions between the 2 groups reached new heights when Michael Righteous Mike Ramsey, a former member of the Outlaws, defected and eventually rose to the position of president within the Sons of Silence. His leadership marked the beginning of an all-out war between the 2 factions, one that would span years and result in multiple murders as both sides fought for control over lucrative criminal enterprises and regional dominance. Law enforcement agencies have targeted the Sons of Silence on multiple occasions in an effort to dismantle their illegal operations, with one of the most significant investigations occurring in 2011 under the codename Operation Sawmill. This federal crackdown sought to expose and prosecute members of a methamphetamine trafficking ring that had been operating since at least May 2010. After extensive surveillance and coordinated raids, 12 individuals associated with the club were convicted for their roles in distributing meth on a large scale. However, the drug charges were not the only shocking revelations to emerge from the investigation. One of the convicted members was also found guilty of orchestrating the abduction of his own stepson, an incident that further underscored the club's willingness to cross even the most unforgivable moral boundaries. Despite these setbacks, the Sons of Silence continue to endure, remaining a significant player in the world of outlaw motorcycle clubs.